What's up, people? I am back for another video. Hold on, fix that shit. Um, but what's up, people? I am back for another video. Today we are reviewing The Faculty, and then later today I will be reviewing The Haunting. So I'm gonna be watching The Haunting here in a bit. But The Faculty is an interesting one because this is a movie. Actually, really quick, I guess I'll do a mini review of a movie my friend Steve recommended me called The Wild Bunch. I was gonna review it Monday, but I didn't feel like it was gonna be one of those movies I want to watch again before I review it. But it is a really good movie, good western, a lot of big body count, good performances. Came out in the '60s, and honestly, I'm gonna add it to the list. I'm not usually a western guy. Like I like some western, Unforgiven, obviously Tombstone. I like some of the old Clint Eastwood ones, but I'm not. But I'll be real with you. I don't actively rewatch them like that though. But I do like them. So, but this one is definitely I'm gonna add to it. So I'm gonna watch it again before I give a full on review. But I really did enjoy it. So I did want to give that a quick mention before I get into this video. But The Faculty is an interesting one. I watched it because this was made by Dimension Films, so this was at that time where I was like, I just got into Scream, so I watched like anything Dimension Films at the time, and I gotta say, I really love this one. And rewatching it yesterday, I forgot how big, and I'm probably just gonna title the video "What a Cast" because it is a big fucking cast. Josh, Josh Hartnett, fucking Josh Hartnett, Salma Hayek, Robert Patrick, Famke Jensen, even Jon Stewart, Elijah Wood, like pretty big fucking Usher, even though he's like a minor character. But yeah, like a pretty big fucking cast, man. I was like, oh, he's in this. I was like, it's an overall great movie. I like the premise. Is pretty much think Invasion of the Body Snatchers in a school, because that's essentially what this movie is. An alien, aliens take over this school and start taking over the teachers, and the main character Casey, and you got Delilah, who's basically essentially the school bully character. You have Zeke, who's the football player about to quit. No, that's Josh Hartnett's character. Sorry. Then you have Stan. That's the football player character, and then you have Mary Beth, who's like the new student, and the Stokely, who's the one that Delilah mainly bullies in the beginning. Is basically insinuating she's a lesbian, even though she's actually straight and likes Stan. So it starts off like your normal high school movie. Casey, Elijah Wood's character, basically he's just there to get bullied. Even Christopher McDonald is in this movie, who's, you might know him as Shooter McGavin. He's Casey's dad. He's not in it much. He's like in the beginning, and then he's like in the beginning because he accuses, obviously when he finds the body, but then they get rid of the body, and they really do a good job of that. And the movie has a really strong opening. Robert Patrick's character Joe, who's the PE teacher, tries to chase the principal, but the drama teacher ends up killing, seemingly helping the principal, and then she ends up killing her, and then obviously takes possession of her. Because basically these creatures possess you, and they want to take over the world, and that's the premise. And what defeats them is caffeine, because Zeke, there's a scene where basically he has these things where it's basically drugs. It's not cocaine. I joke and say it's cocaine, but I think it's some ecstasy like drug that has caffeine in it, that when he stabs it into Jon Stewart's character, who's a teacher, who ends up trying to attack him when because now that he's possessed. Because this is when Casey tries to tell, because Casey and Delilah basically are the only ones who know something weird's going on, but everyone else doesn't believe them. But then eventually they see it, and it turns out that caffeine dehydrates them. So there's even a scene where, think The Thing, where it's like the blood test, but the way to find out that, because everybody starts thinking they are all aliens. So what they do is they have to do the drug that Zeke has, and it basically exposes you, and you'll know who's not. And then they end up defeating the head. Basically, the main point is they have to just kill the main head alien, and then basically they all stop being possessed. So that's what makes this film great. It's just a simple plot. No, yeah, some of the effects. Like there's a scene where Famke Jensen, the teacher, hold on, what's her name? Miss Burke, tries to attack. This is when she's possessed at this point. Tries to attack Zeke, but Zeke manages. I think he destroys her by blowing up the car, and then there's a scene. I might make that thumbnail. We'll see where her head's walking. You see like legs, and then even in the end, you see like a big fucking creature. Like this is where you like get its human form, creature form, and I'll admit. I didn't remember there being like a big like CGI creature in the end, and it looks fine for the most part. I mean, it's 1998. I think it's 98. It came out in 98. So I was like, it's fine. It looks decent for the most part. And it's only in this scene. Largely, they're humans for the most part. So they still kept the budget small. Largely one set, mainly the school, Zeke's house towards the end. But yeah, it's mainly the school, really. And then you go to Casey's house for a scene. But there's not like a bunch of set pieces, right? Like, it's very much small film, which works, I kind of want to go back to this era of filmmaking where, you didn't have not every movie was a giant fucking budget, right? Where you kind of kept it contained. You didn't have a million set pieces, which, don't get me wrong, I like movies with a lot of set pieces, right? But I sometimes like when it's just smaller. Like, fucking Reservoir Dogs was mainly that warehouse. Aside from, like, the flashback scenes where they do have different sets. But largely, it was in that fucking warehouse. I like movies like that sometimes. Anyway, but yeah, that's pretty much the movie. I definitely recommend it. It's great. It was of that great Dimension era. And it's one of those things. It came out like in that Scream era, but it wasn't. This isn't a Scream clone at all to me, because I think this is horror, but I would almost definitely say it's sci-fi horror. Scream is just horror, straight up. Like, this is sci-fi horror because the alien element to it, and it doesn't necessarily start off like a horror film. Like, aside from the opening kill, it very much for the first 30 to 40 minutes, it plays off like a normal high school movie. This could easily just be a normal high school movie for the start of it, at least. But yeah, I definitely like this movie. Very good. Yeah, so I would definitely rate this one like 9 out of 10. I fucking love this movie. I wish more people saw it, and I wish we got this Josh Hartnett in Halloween H2O. That's what sucks. He's really good in this movie, but in H2O he's fucking boring. And it's not. I don't think that's his fault. I think that's the way he was written. I think it's the way he's written, because I actually think he's a good actor. This movie, 30 Days a Night, even though he's not the main character, he was good in Oppenheimer. As much as the movie itself was shit, I thought he was at least the best part of it. Trap, even, I thought he was at least the best part in that piece of shit. So it's like, he's a good actor, so it's just, they didn't have nothing for him in H2O. So to see him actually, in the same year, actually have a role where he's actually a good actor, it was pretty good. And I do like that this was an alien invasion movie, but they were able to keep it small. Don't get me wrong, I like the bigger scale alien invasion movies like Independence Day, right? And movies like even Invasion of the Body Snatchers. It does start small, but eventually, right? Or When Mars Attacks, even. I do like smaller ones where you have to keep it contained. Alien to an extent. This movie or The Thing, like, where they're trying to take over the world, but it's not like a big invasion that's attacking the entire world. It's just this small town in Ohio. In this high school specifically. That's what makes it work for me. And it works because it's not like a bunch of military people. No, it's normal students who have to try to stop this shit. And that's what makes it unique, So, yeah. Anyways, later tonight, I am going to be doing a first-time watch for, I'm reviewing The Haunting. Because I was talking about this with my friends, and I was like, what is Scary Movie 2 based off of? Because I'll be honest, of the Scary Movie films, that was my least favorite. And then I found out it was based off this movie called The Haunting, which I have never seen. Or if I have, I don't remember it. And saw a trailer for it, so I don't think I have seen it, because I don't remember anything from the trailer. So I'm gonna plan on reviewing that, and then maybe some point I do want to do the Scary Movie, especially since they just announced they're gonna do a 6. I don't know if I want to do 5. I might do 5. I've never seen it. I've heard it was awful though, but I might just do it since they're doing a new one. So, and since I'm gonna be reviewing this movie called The Haunting, which Scary Movie 2 is based off of, I might as well. So I'm gonna be doing The Haunting. I'm definitely gonna do that tonight. So I had to record something last night for Pin Down yesterday. That's why I didn't. I was low key kind of tired after I did that recording yesterday, so I couldn't. I didn't necessarily was too tired to do a video. So, but I definitely do plan on tonight doing The Haunting. So, but anyways, let's get into the faculty. So the movie starts with the teachers basically going over the school budget, and then everybody's about to leave. Principal Drake realizes she forgot her keys in the school, goes back in. Football coach Joe Willis, Robert Patrick, who, my God, man, he is so good. He really knows how to play a character. He knows how to look normal, but definitely, man, you could tell something's a little bit off, and then when he does, because he gets to show emotion, because obviously in T2 he's a machine. So in this movie, to see him like that opening scene, I'm not gonna lie, he was pretty creepy. And you know, that chase scene when he's trying to get Principal Drake, and she seemingly manages to escape because drama teacher Miss Olsen helps her out. You know, obviously about to escape, but turns out she's also possessed by the aliens and stabs her to death. And then the next morning, we're introduced to characters Casey, who's the writer for the photographer for the school newspaper. He's basically the bullied character. He's your main character largely, but it is like you could almost say it's both. He's the main character, but it's almost an ensemble movie, especially when the group gets together. He does start off to be the focus, though. You have Delilah, who's a school bully, but she's also the editor in chief. So she fucks with you know, Casey, but also bullies Stokely, who's the goth girl who basically insinuates she's lesbian. Obviously, she says the slur. I'm not gonna say it here, but and then you also meet her boyfriend Stan, who is a football player, but he wants to quit the team because he actually wants to try to focus on his studies. But Delilah, you know, laughs it off, and like I said, it plays off like very much a normal high school movie, and that is what I like, because you don't really think anything's weird going on. And then, you know, we meet Mary Beth, who's the new girl, and she tries to actually befriend Stokely throughout the movie. And one day when Casey's hanging out in the football field, like having lunch, he picks up like this cephalopod looking like thing from the ground, and he takes it to the science teacher, Mr. Furlong, which is Jon Stewart, who I'll admit, whatever I think of Jon Stewart personally, I do think he's good in this movie, and I actually wouldn't mind if he did more movies. I didn't even remember he was in this movie. Like, because there's a scene where you have like all the teachers. I'm like, my God, this is a big fucking cast. Like, especially for a movie like this, you know, it's crazy. But and he believes it's like a parasite, so they test it out, and then when they pour water on it by accident, that's when it wakes up and, you know, starts growing like not legs, but like these string-looking things, and it grows teeth because it bites the science teacher. Then while Delilah and Casey sneak into the teacher's lounge to try to find a story. This is where they witness Coach Willis and Miss Olsen basically forcing the parasites into the school nurse, which that's Salma Hayek's character, who she doesn't really have a character, if we're gonna be honest. She's just there, but I think it works. And they find a body, because there was a scene earlier where Stan is taking a shower and Mrs. Brummel's like skin's like all peeling off, and that's where Casey sees it too, and then that's where they find their body. Casey and Delilah run away, and they call the police, but their claims are dismissed because the school nurse takes the police officer, who I recognize. I don't remember that actor. I think his name's like Dwayne Martin, I think is his name. He was like a couple of movies in the night around this time. He was in Scream 2 the year before. That's where I recognize him. He was in I think is it Above the Rim? I think he's in that movie too. But he's taken to the nursing home. I'm assuming he gets that's where they basically I'll just say Borg him up and make him one of theirs. Because he comes out and he's like, nothing's happened. You can tell he's brainwashed at this point. And then the next day, all the students, because his dad, Casey's dad, who you see, which is Shooter McGavin, which is like, my God, I'm like, I don't even remember him in this. I'm like, he's not in it long. Like, he's in it in a scene where Casey, parents think he's on drugs, so they just punish him, basically. And the next day, he tries to sneak off, but then he witnesses them trying to, I'll just say the creatures trying to attack him, but then they're gone the next minute because his dad gets outside, and then he goes into the school, and then the next day, like, all the students are all like basically brainwashed and controlled, and that's when Casey tells Delilah eventually comes back. She's going incognito, and then that's when Stan and Stokely, because they start witnessing weird stuff too. Casey tries to tell them that aliens are taking over. They obviously blow it off, and then Zeke and Mary Beth like make fun of him, and then Mr. Furlong comes in, but you could tell something's off with him. And then Zeke tries to leave, and he throws Zeke. He tries to attack them all, but Zeke manages to stab him in the eye with these pen things. Because there's even a scene where he sells these drugs, which is through these pens he can like sniff. And Danny Masterson, who we all, whatever he did aside, he's a minor character. He's just there to buy drugs off of Zeke, and he then tries to buy drugs off of Zeke, but he keeps buying more and more. You can tell there's something up with them, and that's when they realize what's actually going on, because he stabs him in the eye, and the drug ends up killing the alien. And that's where they go to his house, and Zeke, does an experiment and pulls out the parasite out of a rat. He tests it on a rat, which, it's fucked up, but I kind of get why they have to do it in this movie. He ends up pulling out the parasite, and it turns out that the creature's waking up by water, but if it doesn't have a host, it will die, but eventually to kill it quicker, he pours caffeine on it and it dries him up. So it turns out that's what kills him. And they all basically start accusing each other, like in The Thing. So they end up, the only way to test it out is they all have to do the drugs, which I think is kind of a funny way to do it. I'm not gonna lie. They all have to do drugs to fucking... I mean, in a way, it makes sense, and it was a unique way to test them. Instead of, you can't just do a blood test, because if you just did that, that would just been a rip-off of The Thing. I like that they try to do their own thing with it, and it works. I love, it's not full on The Thing where the whole movie is paranoia. It's just this section, this part of the movie, but it works. So they all end up doing it. So they all end up doing drugs. But Delilah starts, that's when they realize Delilah is the possessed one, and she's infected, and she destroys the lab and escapes. And they realize Stokely's theory is they have to kill the queen. Basically, then everything goes back to normal. They go back to the school, and while a football game is happening, they isolate Principal Drake into the school because they believe she's the queen. He ends up Zeke shoots her, But they think they're wrong at first because blood just starts rolling out, but then she gets up and the group separates because they have to try to kill the principal, but Dan becomes infected. Casey and Zeke retrieve more of the drugs. So Zeke, while Casey leads the infected students away, Zeke encounters Miss Burke, but he incapacitates her by running her over with a car. You know, the car goes on fire, so her head is walking around with legs. And this is where we get Mary Beth is revealed to be the queen, and Zeke and Casey have to run away while everyone else basically gets infected. And this is where we get Mary Beth in her true form, which is like this giant creature, which I'll be honest, it was cool. And yeah, it didn't look great, but it was only in this scene you see it. Like, if we're being honest, you don't often see the aliens in their true form. You only see them a couple of times, really. And he stabs the drug in her eye. Casey manages to basically save the school, and Stokely and Zeke are alive. Everything's back to normal a month later. Zeke is on the football team. Casey is dating Delilah. Stan is dating not Mary Beth. Stan is dating Stokely, who now like isn't as goth looking, and but it ends with Delilah dating Casey, and they are doing like a bit of media because now he's like a local hero. So, which is it's a good little ending. You know, I'm happy this never got a sequel. You know, you could I guess in a way you could do one. I guess theoretically you could think of a way, but I'm happy they did. And I like these little one-off little stories. So there's nothing wrong with it. Not everything needs a sequel. I kind of want to get back to that sometimes, where sometimes you just get one-off little stories. Not everything needs a sequel or needs to be a franchise, you know? Because I enjoyed this, you know? I very much enjoyed it. Again, I haven't seen this in a while, I'll be honest. I think the last time I watched this was like 4 or 5 years ago. And it still holds up. And the fucking cast is great. I love the small little alien, invasion story. I like all the characters. I think they all had great chemistry. They're believable, you know. And the fact that Mary Beth was the one kind of makes sense, you know, because she just happened to come into town. And that's when all the shit started happening. And I love the test scene is probably one of my favorite sequences in the entire movie, where they have to do the drugs to see if they're if they're not infected. I really love that premise. You know, it's unique. It's, you know, like a version of the blood test from The Thing, but they did their own thing with it. And the third act's great. I like that it does start off like a normal high school movie, and then it just gradually becomes more science fiction, you know. And Robert Patrick is Joe Willis. I'm not gonna lie, when he's infected, he was fucking creepy, man. You know, that's why I can understand why they casted Robert Patrick. So, 9 out of 10 movie. I very much recommend this. One of my favorite 90s, if you want to say post-Scream like horror. It's horror, but it's definitely like sci-fi horror, because there's definitely science fiction, especially with the alien aspect. But yeah, I love this movie. So I recommend it if you have not seen it. And apparently Kevin Williamson, I didn't even know this, he wrote the screenplay for this movie, so it makes sense why this movie is fucking great. So, anyways, guys, I'm gonna call it there. Later tonight, I am gonna be reviewing The Haunting. Tomorrow, I will be doing the first How to Train Your Dragon. So I'm actually kind of looking forward to it. I've been told it's really good, so I'm hoping it nails the landing. I think it will. If there's a reason this movie has a big fan base, so can't be for nothing, right? So I'll be talking about that tomorrow. But subscribe to Pin Down Podcast. We got we recorded some basically a discussion about the latest news. So that'll be premiering this Saturday. So get ready for that. And yeah, but other than that, guys, I gotta call it there. Talk to y'all later. Oh, hold on. Other than that, guys, talk to y'all later.